and the 2001 Hungarian Grand Prix is underway, and it's as simple as that. Jos Verstappen, after one corner, has already taken the lead of the 2001 Hungarian Grand Prix. Yeah, we haven't even done a lap yet, and already there's a solid, what, second and a half, maybe 2 second gap already forming between Marquez and Verstappen. Now that's something I wasn't expecting, Fisichella to be able to hold it side by side around the outside of that sweeping right hand corner, and Fisichella is up into second place. Marquez, what, close to 2 seconds a lap slower than Jenson Button. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous because the entire field is still stuck up behind Marquez. Oh, hang on, Kimi Räikkönen around the outside, he's still side by side with Marquez, which I think means that he might be able to make the move heading into this left-right chicane. He's got the inside line, and there you go. Finally, if he doesn't do it now, when is he ever going to do it? This is the best opportunity he's ever had, inside line towards the first corner, and no, it's just Villeneuve who's going to pass Häkkinen, and then inevitably Häkkinen's going to re-pass Villeneuve again instantly, and I know it's going to happen because I've seen it happen lap after lap after lap. Strangely, Benetton, they have really struggled to catch up to Jos Verstappen. They have caught up, you know, they can see Jos Verstappen, but they certainly cannot pass him, as Jos Verstappen is going to win the 2001 Hungarian Grand Prix. Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for part 14 in my Formula 1 2001 Reverse Grid Race Series. And we're here for the Belgian Grand Prix around Spa, and Spa never fails to produce a phenomenal race. Never, never, ever, ever. So we're in for an absolutely cracking Grand Prix here. And also, this is going to be quite an interesting race because it is the start of the turning point, really, in this season. I mean, we've still got Marquez starting from pole position. That's not really any change. Jos Verstappen still in 4th. Jos Verstappen, though, we'll get back to him in a second. But one thing I do want to say is that there are some quite strange qualifying results, because the qualifying session in real life was a wet to dry affair. So you got some very strange results. Both Williams drivers, I think, were a couple of seconds quicker than the next nearest person because they capitalised on the best conditions that qualifying session. And I think that's why you've got Jean Lacey, who is actually Heinz-Held Frentzen in the Prost, starting in 4th, which in this series would be 19th. God, this series does get very confusing at times. But yes, where is he? There he is, Jenson Button starting in 8th. As I said, this is kind of the turning point in his season. He's leading the Drivers' Championship by 21 points. Benetton are leading the Constructors' Championship by 24 points. Benetton, they really have started to improve. Well, I say Benetton, I really mean Renault. I mean, I know that in 2002, Benetton changed into Renault, so I knew obviously that Renault owned Benetton at this sort of time. I didn't realise though quite how much of a Renault operation the 2001 season was for Benetton, because I assumed that Renault bought the Benetton team midway through, maybe the start of the 2001 season, but actually Renault bought the Benetton team 4 days after the start of the 2000 season. So Renault had owned Benetton for about a year prior to the start of the 2001 season. This basically is the Renault Formula 1 team. But really, it doesn't really become apparent until this Grand Prix, because Button, he's finally got some improvement in qualifying position, and obviously, well, a worse qualifying position once you reverse the grid. It's most apparent really with Fisichella, who's starting in 15th. Fisichella, I know that he got a better traction control system at this Grand Prix. I'm not sure if Jenson Button got it, but certainly the improvements, the upgrades start to come thick and fast. And Fisichella in 15th, that's really just a sign of what is to come for Benetton in the remainder of the season. Because the last 3 Grand Prix, Button, I really doubt is going to be scoring any points. And Fisichella, I don't think is going to be scoring any points for the remainder of the season. I know there's only 4 Grand Prix left, including this one. There's only 4 Grand Prix left in the remainder of this season. However, someone could still take the title from Jenson Button. Benetton's Constructors' Championship is more likely that someone could steal that from them. Although I say someone, realistically, the only team that can do it is BAR. That's plausible. What's slightly less plausible is someone to take the Drivers' Championship from Jenson Button. Jacques Villeneuve, who's second in the Drivers' Championship, he's starting away down the field behind Fisichella, so I don't think Villeneuve's going to be doing much this Grand Prix. But he's only 21 points behind in the Drivers' Championship, but at the same time there's only 40 points that any one driver can potentially score in the remaining races. Jos Verstappen, he's starting in 4th, and Verstappen's form in recent Grand Prix has been brilliant. He won the previous Grand Prix at Hungary. Quite lucky too, to be fair, because of the lack of overtaking, but still, he still won the Grand Prix and it was thoroughly deserved. If Jos Verstappen's form from the previous few Grand Prix carries on to the remaining few Grand Prix, Verstappen could still win the Drivers' Championship, despite the fact he's got, well, just over half the points of Jenson Button. He's on 33, Button's on 60 points as it stands. It's unlikely, that's my point, is it's unlikely that any driver is going to take the Drivers' Championship from Jenson Button. But if it's going to happen, it's going to have to start happening at this Grand Prix. Because this is the last Grand Prix Button's going to be up at the front. It's the last Grand Prix I imagine that Benetton's going to be scoring any points. So yeah, this really is the turning point for this season, because this could, staggeringly, be the final Grand Prix that both the leading driver and leading constructor score for the remainder of the season. But anyway, I'll let Murray Walker take you through all of the starting positions for the 2001 Belgian Grand Prix.
We're at Spa this weekend, and drivers are really pushing for maximum points now as they try to improve their championship positions. Maximum concentrations needed on this circuit, as speeds can reach a whopping 350 k's along the Camel Straight. In second place we have Benoldi. Taking up third place is Alonso. Fourth position for Jos Verstappen. And in fifth we have Gaston Mazzacane. Eddie Irvine is in sixth place on the grid. In seventh position is Jarno Trulli. Eighth we see Jenson Button. Nick Heidfeld in ninth. It's 10th place for Heinz Harald Frentzen. 11th for Kimi Räikkönen. 12th spot goes to Panis. Luciano Berti is on row 7. 14th place for David Coulthard. In 15th spot we have Giancarlo Fisichella. 16th for Mika Häkkinen. Jacques Villeneuve takes up 17th place. 18th position for Rubens Barrichello. Jean Alesi, 19th. 20th is Michael Schumacher. Onto the back of the grid now. And in 21st place we have Ralf Schumacher. And last but not least on the grid is Juan Pablo Montoya.
Thanks, Murray. So here we are with Eddie Irvine, but moving up towards the front, we got both Arrows and both Minardis. Tarso Marquez is on pole position for the 2001 Belgian Grand Prix, and it's underway, and Marquez smoking his wheels off the start, but heading towards the incredibly tight La Source hairpin, running out very close to the wall there, but Marquez is still leading the Grand Prix. Benoldi and Alonso side by side, but Benoldi has been able to hold second place. Alonso is in third. We've still got Jos Verstappen in fourth, all over the back of Fernando Alonso. And he considered making a move, but who's that? Mazzacane around the outside has overtaken both Jos Verstappen and very nearly Fernando Alonso on the Rouge and Radion section. That's unbelievable. I mean, skill, but more, more impressively bravery from Mazzacane to try and make the move. He still made it successfully. Oh my word, going up on two wheels there. Mazzacane, he's just going all out on this one. He's just thrown caution to the wind. Incredibly brave, incredibly stupid almost, but still, he's made up a place, but then so has Jarno Trulli, and he's done it in a much more calm and collective fashion, although just ran out wide there, around the corner with no name, and Trulli is about to be passed, I think, once again by Jos Verstappen. No, Verstappen just doesn't have the legs with his... Oh god, what engine is it? It's a is a Peugeot engine if you go back a couple of years, essentially, and he's up against Jarno Trulli with the Honda engine, which is more powerful. So Trulli, I believe, is currently holding 5th place. Well, let's take a look through the field. So you've still got Marquez leading in 1st place, Benoldi in 2nd, Alonso 3rd, Mazzacane doing remarkably well in 4th, Trulli in 5th. So let's not forget, Jarno Trulli, I've only just remembered, Jarno Trulli is one of 2 drivers who hasn't scored a point so far this season, along with Mika Hakkinen. The difference is Mika Hakkinen, on a couple of occasions, most notably the previous Grand Prix, Mika Hakkinen, there's been a couple of occasions where he very nearly scored points. Jarno Trulli, I think Trulli's best finish is 12th. I mean, honestly, Trulli really hasn't come close to scoring a point in any Grand Prix so far, but he's in 5th place right now. There's no other quick car really near him. He's only really got the Prost, Arrows and Minardis to deal with. Jenson Button's not too far behind. And Jarno Trulli heading up towards the bus stop chicane, got past Fernando Alonso, easy as you like, and there you go, Jarno Trulli is up into 4th place definitively, heading up towards La Source now. There's no way he's going to be able to pass Mazzacane, who's in 3rd place. No, but I'll tell you what, Fernando Alonso in 5th, he's about to come under pressure now from Jenson Button, who's in 6th place, side by side, heading up Eau Rouge. We'll see this from Jos Verstappen's perspective. Button's got the inside line. And yeah, Alonso, that really wasn't going to work. You might be able to pass around the outside, but I don't really think you can defend around the outside. And I believe Irvine is about to get by. Yes, I think he is. Heading up towards Rivage now. And Irvine, he's got the inside line later on the brakes. A more powerful engine, and really, the odds were stacked against Fernando Alonso there. So the final points place is now being occupied by Eddie Irvine. Oh, Jarno Trulli making contact with Mazzacane. The battle for 3rd place is getting dirty. And Trulli, he has still, I believe, been able to make the move past Mazzacane going into the bus stop chicane. Well, they're side by side heading up towards the start-finish straight. And I think Trulli, he's got the legs. It's Honda power versus Ferrari power. Jenson Button's also coming into play. Eddie Irvine isn't too far behind either. My word, this is getting tasty. But Trulli is still side by side with Mazzacane, and heading up towards Eau Rouge. There's no way Trulli's going to make the move stick. They're still side by side, and Trulli's going to make that work. He hasn't gone off the track, but he hasn't been able to make the move stick either. But heading down this long straight, Trulli, he's got the slipstream. I believe he's got the more powerful engine. He certainly hasn't got much of a power disadvantage, if any. And Jarno Trulli, simple as you like. Oh, he's actually pushed out Mazzacane there. Still side by side, of course. This is one of the great things about the spectator mode on this game, is that the AI pretty much 24/7 race side by side. It's guaranteed action, and Jarno Trulli, who 13 Grand Prix in this season, and Trulli hasn't scored a point. Right now, the 14th Grand Prix, he's in a podium place, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he wins the Grand Prix. Oh, hang on. I was more anticipating Trulli to pass Benoldi, but in fact, Benoldi was on the offensive rather than the defensive, and Benoldi's leading the Grand Prix. Right, well, okay, so that does throw a slight spanner in the works for Jarno Trulli, or even for Mazzacane. Mazzacane lost an awful lot of time there. He's been passed by Jenson Button. Mazzacane, I don't know whether he's brave or stupid, but he's done a lot of great things this Grand Prix, and a lot of quite stupid, very questionable things this Grand Prix, but he has certainly provided entertainment. Mazzacane, I remember saying in one of the early Grand Prix that Mazzacane, he's always up there, but he's never really done anything. He's been quite a boring, conservative driver. Not anymore. He's in 5th. I'll still be surprised if he scores a point, but my word, he's providing entertainment. Oh, poor Tarso Marquez. There's absolutely nothing he can do. He's just got a power disadvantage. He's got no one to slipstream ahead of him because Benoldi has pulled out a several second gap already, which Jarno Trulli is certainly going to be looking to close down. Jarno Trulli, and I cannot stress this enough, he's in a Jordan. I said, I think, in the second episode in this series, I said that Jordan, I reckon, is the one team that is going to struggle this series. Sure, they're not doing brilliantly, but Frentzen won the Grand Prix around Hockenheim. Trulli might well win this Grand Prix. I certainly don't see him finishing, well, with Mazzacane passing Marquez, I certainly don't see Trulli finishing below third. But Jordan there ahead of McLaren, Jaguar and Sauber in the Constructors' Championship. That's really surprising to me because I didn't really expect Jordan to be doing anything this series apart from finishing outside of the points. And then also I should stress there is a BAR driver there, it's Olivier Panis. If you want to know how well his teammate is doing, Jacques Villeneuve is in 22nd place, stone dead last. So Villeneuve, to be fair, I didn't really expect him to achieve a great deal this Grand Prix. He started in 17th place. But Panis in 7th, this is really, yeah, I mean, you know, this isn't going to make a massive difference in the Drivers' Championship because Panis isn't really competing for it. But in the Constructors' Championship battle, if Panis can pass Button, it won't be much. Especially as there's only 4 Grand Prix left to go. It would be too little too late. But just to chip away somewhat would be good. And Panis, no, he hasn't been able to do that. He is still, for the time being, stuck up behind Marquez. Right, we're seeing some very brave overtakes made this Grand Prix. Marquez, he's out onto the gravel, so that's it. Even Heinz-Harald Frentzen has overtaken him. But Panis made a move into Pouon. Into Pouon, you have got to be 100% sure that when you make an overtake into that corner that it's going to work. Because if it doesn't work, that's it. Big crash. And there you go, Jenson Button proving why he's the Drivers' Championship leader, up into 3rd place. I think this result has basically solidified his place as the Drivers' Championship winner. Jos Verstappen isn't anywhere. Jacques Villeneuve, last time I saw, was in last place. And Button scoring 4 points this Grand Prix. I don't think he will have won the championship mathematically, but essentially he has. Right, Olivier Panis has passed Jenson Button for 3rd place. Constant overtaking this Grand Prix. By far and away the race with the most action. Olivier Panis up into 3rd place. Heading up Eau Rouge though. Button, I thought was potentially going to make an overtake, but it didn't happen. So Panis, I mean, he's doing BAR proud. I think, I mean, still Jenson Button finishing in 4th. You know, maybe even 5th if Mazzacane passes. I don't really see how Button's going to lose the Drivers' Championship because anyone else who's close to him in the Drivers' Championship isn't even in the points position. No, everyone else who's in the points place, apart from Panis, hasn't really scored any significant points, and even then Panis, I mean, unless Panis wins the Grand Prix, I don't really see him winning the Drivers' Championship. I don't even think it will be mathematically possible unless he wins this Grand Prix. So, I mean, it's not substantial in the Drivers' Championship, but in the Constructors' Championship, it certainly is very useful for Panis to pass Jenson Button, but really, I mean, all that means is that Panis, all that really means is that BAR, they're going to outscore Benetton by, what, 1 point this Grand Prix? Right, so we're on the final sector of the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix. This is a new low for Marquez. He's close to being lapped by Enrique Benoldi. I mean, we've had 10 different race winners in 13 Grand Prix. This is the 14th Grand Prix, and assuming Enrique Benoldi wins the Grand Prix, in fact, even if Jarno Trulli wins it, in fact, Jarno Trulli, don't tell me he's going to make a last lap overtaking move for the lead of the Grand Prix, and coming up the run towards the start-finish line. Who's going to win the Grand Prix between Benoldi and Jarno Trulli? Who's it going to be? I believe it is Benoldi who's going to win the 2001 Belgian Grand Prix, and what that means is there's 11 race winners this season. Half of the field has won a Grand Prix. Oh my word, that was definitely the most exciting end to a Grand Prix. But I mean, Benoldi to win a Grand Prix, that's... I don't know why I sound so surprised, because I mean, Benoldi hasn't been all that great this series so far, but Verstappen in the same car has been doing brilliantly, so why couldn't Benoldi? Jarno Trulli hasn't scored any points up to this Grand Prix, and he finished second. Button, I'm not quite sure how, but he started in 8th, he finished in 3rd. He beat Olivier Panis. Again, I don't really know how, but there were overtakes happening every 2 seconds, so, you know, I'm not surprised I missed something. And then that's what, Mazzacane finished in 5th. Could have done better, Mazzacane, but he's in a Prost. Look at everyone else around him. Everyone else around him's in a quicker car apart from Benoldi, and Benoldi started further up. And then you got Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who finished, nearly got taken out by Panis there, but Frentzen actually finished 6th this Grand Prix. Well, what did I say? I said the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa never fails to put on a phenomenal race, and this was exactly that. Action pretty much all the time, constant action. I don't even know how I'm going to be able to cut this video down to a reasonable length, but I'm sure I'll find some way to do it. I mean, there was even more action at this Grand Prix than there was at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. There was constant action there, but it was largely inconsequential. Not at this Grand Prix. There wasn't overtakes that didn't cancel each other out after a lap or so. There was none of that. There was constant action. The points positions alone, even the top 6, changed on pretty much a sector-by-sector basis. Exceptionally exciting Grand Prix, and a phenomenal ending. Trulli only just losing out to Benoldi by 79 thousandths of a second. I think that's the closest finish I've ever had in any one of my videos. The top 4 were separated by less than a second. Jarno Trulli was phenomenal this Grand Prix. Yes, he did start quite far up because of his poor qualifying result. It doesn't really matter. Jarno Trulli, he took the opportunity that was presented to him, took it with both hands. Yes, you could argue that maybe he should have won the Grand Prix, but he was struck kind of with the same curse that Mika Hakkinen was at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he had a quick driver in a quick car stuck up behind a slow driver in a slower car, and yet the quick guy couldn't get by. You know, much like at the Hungarian Grand Prix where Hakkinen was stuck up behind Jean Lacey, I believe it was. It was a Prost driver anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Jarno Trulli, he could have done better, but still, considering he hadn't scored a point up to this point of the season, and now he scored 6. So on to the Drivers' Championship, and I'm sorry for wasting your time at the start of the episode trying to hype up the Drivers' Championship because it was pointless. Jenson Button, not too surprisingly, scored some points. He scored 3 points this Grand Prix. He's on 63 points. There's only 3 Grand Prix left to go, and mathematically only 3 drivers can actually win the Drivers' Championship. Jos Verstappen, Jacques Villeneuve and Jenson Button. But Jos Verstappen, he would have to win the remaining 3 Grand Prix, and Button would have to not score a single point. If that happens, Jos Verstappen would win the Drivers' Championship, but it's just incredibly unlikely. I don't know what the qualifying results are for the remaining 3 Grand Prix, but it just seems unlikely that Verstappen would win the final 3 Grand Prix, especially as the next one is at Monza. So even if Verstappen, even if he qualified on pole position, he probably would be overtaken by someone in a quicker car anyway. Of course, Jacques Villeneuve could still win the Drivers' Championship as well, but it just seems unlikely. But one thing I should say is, because of the current Drivers' Championship standings, what this means is that this will be the first reverse grid race series I've done where the driver who won the championship in real life won't win the championship in this season. Mazzacane scored a couple of points, so he has overtaken the likes of Irvine Raikkonen and David Coulthard, who are all on 5 points. Irvine so nearly extending his Drivers' Championship points total, but he was right up there in the points place for a while, but I don't quite know what happened to him in the final few laps. He just lost a few places in the end, unfortunately. Enrique Benoldi, though, winning the Belgian Grand Prix, scoring 10 points, becoming the 11th different race winner in this series. He's now on 14 points. He's overtaken Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So that means Benoldi, either way, he has joined that illustrious group of race winners, and now he's in the top half of the Drivers' Championship standings. And then finally, there's Jarno Trulli, the Jordan driver, one of only 2 drivers heading into this Grand Prix who hadn't scored a point. Well, now he has scored a point, more than just a point, 6 points. He's overtaken because of his second place finish. He's overtaken Hakkinen, Berti, Heidfeld, Mazzacane, Irvine, Raikkonen, Coulthard, possibly even Barrichello. Actually, I don't think he has. No, I think he's still behind Barrichello, but still, that is a phenomenal improvement, and it just makes him look good that now he's finally scored a point. So, there's only one driver who hasn't scored a point, Mika Hakkinen. And on to the Constructors' Championship, and Benetton's Constructors' Championship lead was slightly reduced. BAR outscored Benetton by 1 point. But really, BAR are the only team that can take it to Benetton. And unlike the Drivers' Championship, which Button's basically wrapped up, the Constructors' Championship, it is somewhat plausible that BAR could win the Constructors' Championship. It's unlikely, but it is at least somewhat plausible in the real world. Again, BAR, they really are going to need to get second place, third place, you know, maybe even wins at the remaining 3 Grand Prix. And they're really going to need both of their drivers to be contributing to the points. Because fortunately for them, Benetton, I'll be amazed if they do score any more points, because thanks to the new traction control system which Fisichella had at this Grand Prix, and the new front wing which both of their drivers get at the next Grand Prix, because of that, Benetton, I really doubt will be scoring any points. They'll probably be finishing towards the back for a change. So BAR, if they can get both of their drivers up in a points place, maybe even winning a Grand Prix, but certainly getting consistent podium finishes, who knows, they could actually win the Constructors' Championship. Lower down the Constructors' Championship, things really aren't looking good for Minardi, or even actually for Ferrari. Jordan finishing 2nd and 6th this Grand Prix. They're on 19 points. They have caught up quite substantially to Prost, and Prost scored a couple of points this Grand Prix, with Mazzacane finishing in 5th. So Minardi, they're only 3 points ahead of Prost. It is entirely possible that Ferrari, despite the fact they're 5th in the Constructors' Championship, it is entirely possible that they could finish 7th, maybe even 8th in the Constructors' Championship, which will be, you know, an absolute disgrace, and it actually means that they won't be too far ahead of McLaren. Well, they will be in terms of a points total, but in terms of where they are in the Constructors' Championship table, there wouldn't be that much difference between those two rivals. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and next time it's the Italian Grand Prix around Monza. Can anyone, starting at Monza, really mount a title challenge on both Jenson Button and the Benetton Formula 1 team?